What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and to episode 3 of Let's Play Dark Fort with One Page Mythic. Dark Fort is a solo micro RPG adjacent to the popular RPG Mörk Borg. And I'll put a link in the description to the fanzine where you can buy, along with a lot of Mörk Borg content, the solo micro RPG Dark Fort. And we're playing this alongside the One Page Mythic Game Master Emulator, and I've got a link in the description to Mythic Magazine 25 where you can purchase this product. This is a one-page solution to playing any role-playing game absolutely solo. Alright, now let's dive back into the campaign. So when we last left off, Kargunt, our intrepid adventurer, was exploring a catacomb, originally looking for riches and wealth. He lives in a hard world, and he's decided to try to make a living by grave robbing, and it's not going so well thus far. So in the last episode, we came across the Dying Knight in this cross-shaped room, and this was a warrior type individual, someone wearing armor that was dying. He was bleeding out, and a little context from the first session. In this corridor leading north from the cultist's chamber, we saw a Medusa gorging, basically feeding on some kind of dead warrior. So we made the connection between this Dying Knight and this original warrior. We learned from the Dying Knight that his group of warriors had traveled to this catacomb to rescue a sage, and this sage's name is Frelo, from the town of Frightmoon, and we're not sure exactly how far away Frightmoon is with in relation to this catacomb. We're not exactly sure where in the dying world that this catacomb is located. Now, we could ask some questions to see if Kargunt already has this knowledge. We might do that if the detail comes up as important. But whatever the case, we made this connection between the two warriors, and this night his dying wish was for Kargunt to carry on his quest to find Frelo and save him. Okay, so then in a crazy turn of events, so the very next room we ran into one of the more difficult creatures in the game of Dark Fort. We ran into a necro sorcerer, and in the last episode we spent probably the last 20 minutes of the episode in combat with this necro sorcerer. He was wielding a staff with, I believe it was a crescent moon on the tip that would cast a death ray, and Kargunt and the necro sorcerer was interrogating a third warrior that was there, very much so wounded, maybe dying but not quite dead yet, and we actually jumped out from underneath the cover of an invisibility cloak to attack the necro sorcerer, and we took, I think it was 2 different dagger wounds, one of which the sorcerer buried the dagger to the hilt. We also took a death ray full blast to the chest. Kargunt has actually been reduced to 1 health point. As a result of that, his max HP is 15, and he is now down to 1. So basically anything that hits us in the game will kill us. Okay, now with that, there are some actions. So this is where we find ourselves. This is where Kargunt finds himself as we kick off the session. He is standing in this kind of triangular room. The necro sorcerer is dead. The daemon that we summoned to help us, this imagine basically a colorful cloud with maybe talons or wings or claws just kind of shimmering in and out of existence in this very bizarre kind of visual effect. This daemon pinned the sorcerer to the ground after we delivered some telling blows, but we took so much damage in the process that Kargunt is bleeding all over the place. Maybe his chest is partially caved in from the death ray. He might have a rattling of his breath. He's certainly limping. Kargunt is on the edge of death. He's at death's door. There's also this warrior laying in the room, wounded, that is not dead, but is quite possibly dying. This is where Kargunt finds himself at the beginning of the session. Now, some things that we want to do to kind of clean up from the last episode. We want, because Kargunt and the Daemon were able to kill the sorcerer, we want to collect the 4 points from that we earn by killing the Necro Sorcerer. So we're currently at 7 points, and that puts us at 8, 9, 10, 11 points earned, which is excellent. And for your reference, I'll scroll down to how we level up. So you level up if you do one of the following. We're aiming at the first one. Explore 12 rooms and survive, entrance included, and have earned at least 15 points. When we do so, our points are reset to 0. It's very cool. So we're sitting at 11 points now. We also finished exploring the room, technically, when we killed the Necro Sorcerer. So we're going to increment our rooms explored count to 5. And our 5 rooms are the Cultist's Chamber, the corridor with the Medusa, the room with the Soothsayer, the cross-shaped room with the Dying Knight, and then our triangular room with the Necro Sorcerer. All of these rooms are pretty barren. We keep rolling on the description table and on the, Ask the GM table to try to get some kind of interesting description of the catacombs. I was hoping for some kind of wild, environment. But really, it's bare. There's almost nothing here, which makes it very curious why this Necro Sorcerer, why these cultists, and potentially goblins, if we go off of the entrance with the goblins engraved on the door, why they're all here. We're not exactly sure. Whatever the case, though, Kargunt is making progress towards leveling up. If we can get to 15 points, so if we can collect 4 more points, then we'll have the points we need to level up, but we've only explored 5 rooms. We need to get to 12 rooms explored to level up, and the rooms are dangerous. Kargunt's at 1 health. A pit trap is a 50-50% chance Kargunt dies. A riddling soothsayer is a 50-50% Kargunt dies. If we fake a weak monster, we have slightly more than a 50% chance of living, but a solid chance of death. And if we face a tough monster, we're probably going to die outright. A 1 roll is nothing, and a 6 roll is a peddler from beyond the void. So essentially, the only way to heal in Dark Fort is through the use of a potion. A potion heals D6 HP. We can spend silver on potions. We have 19 silver. We actually will collect silver from the corpse of the Necro Sorcerer. We can use to spend on potions or armor or what have you. But whatever the case, until we find a peddler from beyond the void, we are stuck at 1 HP. So the odds are incredibly high that Kargunt will not survive this session. We're going to do the best that we can. Now, something interesting to keep in mind is that the mechanics of the game are kind of like a meta. In my mind, the mechanics of any role-playing game are just a way to structure the storytelling of the game. The purpose of playing a role-playing game is to create an interesting story, right, where you have agency. You're able to take actions and witness the consequences in a structured way so that it feels somewhat realistic, giving you, a good chance of life or death, a good chance of an okay chance of succeeding, and a big chance of failure. It makes you feel good when you win a game and there's a chance of losing. What I'm really trying to say, though, is that the mechanics of the game are separate from the game world itself. So what I mean is that we know the meta is that we have to press on to find a peddler from beyond the void to sell us a potion. Now, Kargunt does not know this. Kargunt, rather, has just barely survived a combat experience with a Necro Sorcerer wielding a death ray, and Kargunt may not have been mentally prepared to experience this coming into the catacombs. So Kargunt may be freaked out at this point, and we have to seriously consider whether Kargunt would actually press on or not. Now, of course, I am playing the game as Kargunt, so I can take actions for him. However, we need to be realistic and not push him to death unless it makes sense for him to do so. So given that conversation, my thought is that Kargunt would either try to leave. In contemplating what Kargunt would do in this situation, the two most obvious to me solutions to his predicament of being at 1 health being at near death, is one, to try to leave, okay, to try to leave the catacombs, or two, to push on and try to find this sage that maybe, I think we learned he might be, kind of like a healer for his the town, for Frightmoon. So the sage Kargunt might think that this sage can help him. So I personally think that Kargunt is so injured that it might seem daunting to him to actually leave the catacomb and travel all the way back to Frightmoon. Right, because he is so near death, he might have a lot of concern about making that journey. While on the other hand, if he can press forward, he might come across this sage that can heal him. So with this in mind, the first question that I'm going to ask one Page Mythic in this session is about Kargunt's decision. What does Kargunt do next? I don't know. Now, I think that Kargunt seems more likely to be enticed by the possibility of the sage being just ahead. I think he's afraid of how dangerous the journey would be back to Frightmoon. The catacomb is obviously exceptionally dangerous, but the road back is also, it's a dangerous place. So I personally think that it's likely that Kargunt will choose to press forward in search of the sage, hoping that individual can heal him, of his injuries, can save his life, because Kargunt is very much dying. All right, so I'm gonna make this a likely roll on the fate chart, the ask the game master table. It's called the fate chart in Mythic GME, so you'll hear me interchange those terms quite often. And if it's a 65 or lower, then Kargunt presses on, looking for the sage. Maybe we'll come across a peddler from beyond the void. And if it's higher than a 65, Kargunt is going to turn around and he's going to try to survive the journey out of the catacomb, and this may be the end of his adventure. We'll let fate decide. So we roll a 97. This is an exceptional no. So in this case, Kargunt is 100% going to try his best to make his way out of the catacomb. Kargunt does not want to press on. And you almost can't blame him. He's so near to death that this outcome by the Oracle is quite understandable. Now, he's not just going to be able to waltz backwards out of the dungeon. And also, there is this interaction with the warrior. So he still needs to talk to the warrior in the room, and that might sway his decision. But what this tells me is that off the cuff, Kargunt is he's terrified. He's in this catacomb where the walls seem like they could collapse at any moment. We've mentioned that the structural integrity of the catacombs seems quite weak. There's damage to the walls everywhere. There are cultists and monsters in here beyond Kargunt's expectations or his understanding. And yeah, he's terrified. Whatever he hoped to gain from pressing on this far, it's now been checked. His resolve has been tested, and he wants to leave after this combat with the Necrosorcerer. However, before he just bails, we want to deal with the wounded warrior in the room. So in the triangular room to the south here, we have this dying warrior that is we were able to confirm actually is a part of this group that came to find Freylo. Okay, now the last kind of cleanup we'll want to do with the Necrosorcerer, just while I'm thinking about it, is we'll want to loot him, right? And actually, I'm going to say that the first thing that Kargunt does is not he doesn't loot the the sorcerer first. First, he's going to go talk to this warrior. Now, the warrior is very likely freaked out because he just made this bold claim to the Necrosorcerer, who was in complete control of his life and fate, that more were coming and that the sorcerer would not be able to escape justice which could very well could have been a bluff on his part. And then lo and behold, immediately Kargunt throws off an invisibility cloak and swings at the sorcerer. So this man on the ground's like yes, like oh my gosh, freaked out, like what, someone just popped into existence, starts fighting the sorcerer. But then Kargunt gets seriously injured, knocks to the ground, and it's like a roller coaster ride. His hope fails, and then suddenly Kargunt summons this daemon, the shining cloud daemon thing, to help him fight, and ends up actually killing the necrosorcerer. So this warrior's like freaked out. I imagine that as Kargunt rushes over to the warrior on the ground in this triangular room, the warrior is going to say something along the lines of gods above, like thank God you were here to save me, and asks Kargunt why he's here, to which case Kargunt would probably respond that he was here exploring the catacombs, and he came across two warriors now, one that was dead. He'd probably leave out the detail about the Medusa, just for tact, I guess. But he would probably tell. I'll say that he tells the warrior that he came across another man dying, and in his dying wish was for him to press on and to help find Freylo, the Sage of Frightmoon. Now, as this is happening, there's a 1 in 6 chance after combat with a necrosorcerer that you are transformed into a maggot in your adventure ends here. While Kargunt is talking with this man dying on the ground, who may feel a slimmer of hope, that he could be safe now, does he turn into a maggot before his eyes? 1 in 6 chance. If we roll a 1, we'll call it the end of Kargunt. A 5. Okay, so that does not happen, but we had to check just in case this grotesque transformation would occur before the man's very eyes. Would have been brutal. But rather, this man, knowing that Kargunt has just saved his life, knowing that Kargunt is aware of his quest, it's possible that the man wants to try to convince Kargunt not just to save him. Kargunt is probably offering to help him escape the catacomb. This man may or may not want to escape the catacomb. He may feel the need to press forward. Now, I'm going to say that, so that we're not being helped mechanically, whatever the outcome is, this man is not going to help us in combat. The only damage, support that we'll receive is from the daemon, not from this man. Whatever the case, I want to know, does this wounded warrior want to press forward? And I'm going to say that this depends on whether he is more of a lawful good type individual or just like a good or neutral individual. He could be a mercenary, but he could really care about this mission. I don't know what the choice is, so I'm going to make it 50-50. This will kind of help us understand his personality. So my question for the fate chart specifically is, does the wounded warrior want to convince Kargunt to press on instead of escaping the catacombs? 50-50. So 67, no, this man does not want to try to convince Kargunt that he should press forward. This man wants Kargunt to escape. Now, I do have another question. This man claimed that there are more coming. Is this true? Is it true that there are more individuals on the way? I'm going to say that this is unlikely. So 35% chance of yes. Are there more warriors on the way? 17. So yes. Okay. So this man, let's get his name. Kargunt is talking to this man. This is getting more and more interesting. We'll roll on the description table for his name. The first word is 61. Mysterious. Mysterio. And the second word, let's say 38. Healthy. Interesting. I like the MYST from mysterious. So why not Mistal? Why not MYSTAL? Mistal. I'll make a note. I'll say Mistal. Mistal, the wounded warrior. So Mistal does not... He wants Kargunt's help in escaping the catacomb because there are more people coming from his order of... Let's describe the order. Is this... Well, okay, I just kind of made an assumption. Is this man, are these three individuals a part of an order? Are they a part of the town's... are they like guards from the town of Frightmoon? Are they some kind of like order that follows a god of some kind? I'll make it 50-50. Does this man belong to some kind of like knighthood order? Does this group of three individuals belong to some kind of order? Answer is exceptional no. It's a 100. It's an exceptional no. So these are not by any means, religious, like knight type individuals with some kind of order that are like, lawful. We should not make that assumption. Rather, we'll go with the next most likely outcome. I don't know if that goes with an exceptional no, but these men are... they're mercenaries or they're guards from the town of Frightmoon, and maybe they're here, and there are more guards coming. There are more soldiers from Frightmoon, or maybe the surrounding area, that are coming to help in this quest for the sage because he is so important. So with that being said, maybe our adventure will continue if we're able to escape. That is quite interesting. So Mistal wants Kargunt to help him escape so they can sync up with the other soldiers that are coming to the catacombs to find. They want to delve and they want to get Freylo out of this catacomb. That is quite interesting. Was this party a scouting party? The three that delved? Was it only three? I'm going to say it's very likely that it was only three. Kargunt is asking Mistal if there were only three of them. I'm going to say it's very likely. 91. There were more than three in the dungeon. Okay, so there's someone else in the dungeon. Were there four? Let's make this 50-50. I'll ask if there's five if it's a no. That is a 29. There were four of them. We have found two. There are two dead. This man is alive. He's not dying, but he's severely injured. And there is one more. Is the one more further in the dungeon? Is he further along in the catacomb? I mean, he can't be behind us. So is the fourth man in their adventuring party, is he actually in the catacombs somewhere? I'm going to say that is very likely. 88 random event. No, he is not. He was he waiting outside? What does the... Okay, so no, he's not just somewhere in the dungeon. Why don't we roll specifically on the action meaning table before we resolve a random event? Let's ask what the fourth party member is doing in his group. A 4. Benefit. Oh, so is he looking for a benefit? Is he looking for something beneficial? Maybe he was... What could they need him to acquire? A benefit... Let's roll for another action meaning word. 67. Move benefit. He wants to move something good. They found something good. This could be our answer. So the fourth man found something good and was supposed to bring it outside to the other soldiers. Did they find, this is going to be very helpful, if it's a yes, this is going to make our adventure last longer. Did they find a peddler from beyond the void that was able to offer them potions, and maybe they found some and wanted to bring them back to the soldiers outside the catacomb? Is there a fourth person bringing the peddler and his wares back to the soldiers? Basically, is there a chance that we could get potions anyway? We'd have to buy them, and I'd probably punish us for buying them from the soldiers. But whatever the case, this is a very important role on the Mythic chart. Is the fourth warrior carrying, essentially escorting a peddler with potions for sale, or maybe just the potions and supplies, back to the soldiers? I'm going to make this roll. It seems the other thing they could have found was a bunch of silver. They're looking for Freylo. I'm going to say it is likely that what they found was a peddler. It's likely that they found a peddler. And a 95 is what we get, so they did not find a peddler. That could have been our way out of this. Is that an exceptional no? Yeah, that's an exceptional no. They absolutely did not find a peddler or any kind of potions. That's not going to help us out on the journey. Darn. Did they find like silver or gold instead? Or silver is the currency of this world. We'll make that. It's a benefit. He's moving a benefit. So it's something he found that is beneficial that he's moving. There's not a lot of stuff in this dungeon. Why don't we ask for a description of what he found? They found 24 a disagreeable benefit. It's being moved. 22 dirty, disagreeable. Ooh, was it a hostage? Did they capture a hostage and this man is bringing him out? Let's ask that. That seems very likely. Did the fourth individual basically escort a hostage out of the catacombs to the soldiers? 79, that's a no. Okay. On a 50-50. Very interesting results that we're getting here. It's cool though. Yeah, the twists are interesting, and we have a random event that's happening. 95 on the description meaning table. Stylish. So I think that what this means is that they came across maybe a weapon stash. Maybe there's these crazy looking knives that are just shaped. Maybe they're really long and have this odd, like, if you can see here, maybe the knife is like, you've got a hilt and then this like dip and then a big curved blade maybe coming off like this with this handle. Maybe there's some kind of intense you can barely see that. Maybe there's some kind of intense descriptions or runes or symbols that are just terrifying on the blades. I just imagine that they're holding this in their hand and there's this drop and then the sickle blade kind of thing comes off, and it's just this really dark sick looking maybe knife of sacrifice that these cultists are wielding, and they come across a group of them, and maybe they thought it'd be useful to carry these weapons back to the soldiers oncoming so that they can understand what it is that they're coming up against. We're going to say that is what the fourth person is doing, and Mistal tells Kargunt this while they are talking. He says that Mistal had entered the catacombs with them and had left to bring these weapons to the soldiers, and now Mistal wants Kargunt's help leaving the catacombs so that they can so that he can reconnect with the soldiers and warn them about what is ahead of them. Okay, so it seems like the next step is for Kargunt to actually attempt to flee the dungeon. Now, as they are having this discussion, a random event occurs. Now, this could spell disaster for the two of them. Mistal is alive, but he's not going to be able to contribute meaningfully in combat. Maybe in the flavor of it he can try, but he's not going to actually land any significant damage while we're playing. Kargunt has not put his invisibility cloak on. He is in the open, speaking with Mistal, and the daemon is there, hovering nearby. He is bound to us for at least he's bound to us for one more fight. Okay, and then something happens. Let's roll on the action meaning table. Let's discover meaning for a word to let us know what random event happens as we're talking to Mistal. We rolled an 80. This is obstacle. Okay, there's an obstacle. Okay, I really want Kargunt to move forward. I know fate is pushing him away. I would love for something to prevent him from moving forward. Is the random event that as Kargunt turns to leave, so let's say Kargunt helps the soldier to his feet, and he's returning to the cross-shaped room with the Dying Knight. Is the Medusa in the room? Can he see the Medusa feasting? That wouldn't be enough of an obstacle because we have the invisibility cloak. But we can say the cloak isn't going to cover us and the daemon. So does Kargunt see that now the Medusa is essentially, he's in the room, she's in the room with the Dying Knight, feasting on the knight, and Kargunt does not want the soldier to see that, and he also, does he feel, is the Medusa there? Let's ask that in the first place. I want this to happen. I'm going to say that this is very likely that the obstacle is a Medusa in his path. It seems very likely. 78, no, that is not the obstacle. Okay, let's get another word. Let's describe the obstacle. How about that? Let's do a description meaning. Obstacle is 83. Rough. A cave-in. Oh my gosh, does the room with the Dying Knight, does it collapse? Oh, that's nearly certain. We've had so many details leading up to this point that I think, oh my gosh, I think that this is awful. There's a cave-in in the room with the Dying Knight with a cross. I'm going to say this is nearly certain. We roll a 77, another random event occurs. 77 is going to be a yes, so we now have a cave-in. I'm going to, draw this rubble. Cave-in. So with a loud crashing noise, Kargunt and Mistal hear this, this very loud sound. The catacomb ceiling walls finally kind of collapse in and block their path through the cross-shaped room with the Dying Knight. Now, they do have their two doors. They can move forward, but this loud sound might, it might attract attention, and maybe that's what this next random event is. Maybe the loud crashing noise draws the attention of the creatures that are nearby. Whatever the case, our first random event has been resolved. Kargunt wants to leave, and Mistal wants to leave. They're ready to flee and get back to the soldiers of Frightmoon that are on their way, but they can't because the catacombs have caved in. Okay, and then something else random happens. What? Oh my gosh, what in the world could this be? Okay, another random event just after the collapse. So Kargunt and Mistal are maybe Misthal did get to his feet and they're starting to walk towards the door when this collapse happened, and they are, contemplating what to do next when 80 obstacle. What? Okay. Another obstacle. Is this the Medusa? Ooh. Is this the Medusa? The Medusa's on the other side of the stones. So they encounter another obstacle. Would the Medusa have been able to respond to this? Could the Medusa get through the rubble? Can they hear the Medusa on the other side of the wall, like screaming or freaking out? That wouldn't be an obstacle to us. Why don't we get... Interesting. Why don't we get a description of this obstacle? So we have another obstacle. It could be another cave-in. Oh my gosh. Could there be a cave-in somewhere else randomly that we hear? It needs to be a random event that happens to us, and it needs to incorporate an obstacle. Let's get a description of this obstacle. Description meaning 18. This is a dangerous obstacle. So this is a monster. So we're going to say that this... we're going to say that the sound of the collapse of the room with the dying knight draws a monster to us. Now, is it a weak monster or a tough monster? I'm going to ask the question, is it a tough monster? And I'm going to make it unlikely. If the answer is yes, we'll encounter a random tough monster. And if the answer is no, then we'll encounter a random weak monster. So is this a tough monster? Rolling for unlikely, we get an 87. No, this is not a tough monster. But out of the other side of the triangular room, from behind us, while Misthal and Kargunt are, just kind of in shock at the bad luck of this cave-in, from behind them comes, we need to roll a d4 on the weak monster table, a blood-drenched skeleton. From behind them, they hear this kind of sound. Maybe the skeleton, he does d4 damage, so he's got one of these sickle daggers in his hand. He comes through one of the two doors, and he is going to immediately, charge. He's going to charge. Why don't we get a description word to describe how this skeleton enters combat? We roll a 22. Dirty. So, okay, so the skeleton enters the room, and he immediately, he's coming after, he's coming to investigate the noise, and he sees Misthal and Kargunt and sees that they're not cultists, they're not the necrosorcerer. So immediately this skeleton slinks down and starts, slowly, silently, like the undead can move, very creepy silence-like. He is edging his way around the triangular room towards Kargunt and Misthal, who are distracted by the cave-in, the collapse. And so we're going to roll for our first round of combat. And we'll let the hit or miss decide whether Kargunt or Misthal notice the skeleton sneaking up on them with his dagger. So the skeleton is worth 3 points. That means we have to roll a 3 or above to hit. So this is a dice roll that could end Kargunt's story. Yeah, so if we roll a 1 or 2 on this die, then Kargunt is dead. The skeleton will hit, he'll do d4 damage, and that will be the death of Kargunt. However, if we roll a 3 or higher, Kargunt or Misthal are going to notice, and Kargunt is going to be able to land a hit on the skeleton and maybe live. Okay, so let's just roll for it. A 3! Okay, so we roll a 3, and that is a hit. Woo, my heart is pounding on the blood-drenched skeleton. So the skeleton is sneaking around. He's sneaking around, coming up behind us, and let's see, is Miss Tall the one that actually notices the skeleton? 50-50. 84 no. So Kargunt hears the clink of a bone and turns around just in time to see the skeleton. The skeleton notices that he's been spotted and jabs out with his knife, right? And he jabs out at Kargunt, who's able to sidestep. Now Kargunt is in a very bad shape, but he still manages to bring his warhammer across and connect with the skeleton, and he is going to deal how much damage? The warhammer is a d6. The blood-drenched skeleton has 6 HP, so we're going to roll for the hit. We roll a 3, so a solid hit. It connects, and it just, busts a chunk out of the skeleton. The skeleton is severely injured by the hammer, but the skeleton is able to continue fighting. Now the daemon is also going to dart and just take a chunk out of the other side of the skeleton, and the daemon does d4 damage. So if he can roll a 3, he rolls a 1. So the daemon, the bright colorful cloud, chips off the other side of the skeleton, and he is now off kilter. Kargunt is going to swing again, and we're going to go into another round of combat. So Kargunt is at 1 HP, and the skeleton is at 2 HP, and we're going to roll another d6 to see if Kargunt can survive again. Now, if we roll a 1 or a 2 on this die, then Kargunt will die. And if we roll a 3 or higher on this die, come on, Fate, then Kargunt will live to fight another day, because him and the daemon will both roll a 1 at least and will win this fight. So here goes nothing, and it's a 4. It's a 4. Kargunt escapes death again. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Kargunt with his second blow connects and lands with a 1. He brings it around and chips off the shoulder, busts the shoulder off of the skeleton, and the daemon darts, and a 4 connects with the center of this blood-drenched skeleton and shatters it into a million pieces before their eyes. Wow. What an exciting encounter was that. So the blood-drenched skeleton gives Kargunt 3 more points. Kargunt is now at 14 points, so he's 1 point away from being able to level up based on points. But he's not close on rooms at all. We've had a lot of action go on in these last 2 rooms. It's been a lot. We've had a lot of interpretations. But how exciting is that? That was epic. Yeah, so we get 3 points. And now we can actually loot everything in the room. Why don't we say that, Kargunt is still, he's next to death, but he didn't take a scratch from the skeleton. He destroyed the skeleton. It was very intense. And he's going to loot both the skeleton and the Necrosorcerer while we're here. So there's a 2 and 6. On a 1 or a 2, we're going to loot a dagger from the slain skeleton. Or 1 or 2, I mean. We roll a 6, so no, there's nothing on the skeleton. I don't know. We can say that the knife is damaged. We're not able to recover his knife. And then for the Necrosorcerer, we actually get 3d6 silver. That's pretty exciting. So I'm going to grab... Do I have 3d6s here? I do. We're going to roll all 3 at once in my dice tower that I really like a lot, that my wife got for me. And 3, 6, 7, 8. So we collect 8 silver from the Necrosorcerer. That is pretty solid. So 19 and 8 is going to be 27 silver. Now there's a second way that we can level is by reaching 40 silver, which you return to poor people in Ruin Vastland homes. Wasteland? Yeah, I need to double check how we pronounce this. Oh my gosh, I just noticed. So when we level up, there's a lot of different things that can happen. One of these is a not very occult herbmaster salutes your endeavors and gives you 5 potions. Now that would be excellent. That would be so excellent. Leveling up could save our game. So if we got 13 more silver, or if we explored to 12 rooms and got 1 more point, we could level up. It could save our life. There's a chance. We just need every chance that we can get to keep moving forward. Kargunt is on the edge of death. Okay, so we've looted the Necrosorcerer. We've looted the skeleton. We know that we want to get back to the entrance, but we can't go that way, so we're going to have to go around by pressing forward. So Kargunt and Mistal just have to hope that there is a way to connect back. So another problem is that we could roll that there are no doors. We could get stuck in this part of the catacombs. Whatever the case, the only thing left to do is to move forward, press on, and hope for a peddler of some sort. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and exit this room, past the skeleton. Let's hit the door on the left. Why not? Okay, so for the first time in a bit, we are generating a room. So this is cool. Let's roll for the room shape. That's a d12. It's a 4. It is a cross-shaped room again. And then let's roll for the number of doors. That's a d4. Oh. And we get a 1. There is no door. Ooh, if you've reached a dead end, your adventure is over. You can still return to previously explored rooms with unopened doors. Okay, so this is going to just barely slightly complicate things. So we have this cross-shaped room. I'm going to make it shaped like so. Have this cross-shaped room with something in it, but there are no doors. So this is not going to help us in our quest to find the other side of this cave-in. That's what it's not going to help us with. But it's possible that it helps us in another way, because we do get to roll on the room table, and at some point, if we explore a new room and we roll a 6, then our game is saved. Yeah, but there's a good chance that we fall to our death or something. I should say before I roll this, the daemon, after we finished our last fight, the daemon is done. That is our second fight with him, and so it just dematerializes. Maybe just fades out into nothingness. And now Kargunt and Mistal are able to press on, and they have an invisibility cloak. Mistal is not able to use the invisibility cloak, so I'm going to say that when they enter a new room, Kargunt enters the room with the invisibility cloak so that he can kind of make an executive decision about what to do. And if we actually use it to skip a monster, then and only then will we count the cloak as having been used. However, we'll have to make a decision about leaving Mistal behind or taking on the monster, because Mistal can't use the invisibility cloak. It is only for Kargunt. Okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and roll this d6 and hope for a 6. A 4, you face a weak monster. If you kill it, the room is explored. So Kargunt enters the room wearing the invisibility cloak, and he comes across in this cross-shaped room. 4, weak monster, an undead hound. There's a dog, an undead hound in this room. Hound. And what does the room look like? Let's get some ambiance of what's in the room. I'll ask one Page Mythic. Describe the room to me. Is it also bare? We'll make that a likely first. Is it a very barren room? 15, yes. So this room is also mostly empty. It's in the shape of a cross. And there's an undead hound. maybe sleeping in the room, and we're wearing the invisibility cloak so we don't have to engage in combat. So Kargunt is going to just kind of slip back out of this room. Mistal is still in the triangle, and he's, like, shh, there's a hound in that room. Warning Mistal not to make noise so they don't awaken the hound. Now, as this happens, a few different things happen. We get points from the monster, right? So we get the monster's points even though we didn't have to fight it, which is excellent, which raises our number of points from 14 to 18. Is that right? Yes, we get 4 points. And we've also explored the room. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms. Yep, we are still up to date on our room count, and we get to continue exploring. Now, there is a rule that when we re-enter an explored room, or a room that you fled from, there's a 1 in 4 chance that you face a weak monster, otherwise the room is empty. So we actually have to roll a d4. I know that Mistal was in this room already, so but for the sake of the game mechanics, we need to roll a d4 to see if the room with the dead skeleton and the sorcerer, if that room has a new weak monster in it. We need to roll a 2. It is not. So Kargunt and Mistal are able to back up into this room with the sorcerer, the triangular room, and they're going to be able to push on down the other hallway, which is excellent. And we are going to go ahead and roll. Oh, the invisibility cloak has been used twice now, so we need to erase that we have the cloak of invisibility. So it kind of, as we leave the room, maybe the cloak begins to slowly become more see-through. Maybe it is we can see Kargunt kind of starting to bleed through, or color starts to bleed through what was invisibility, and the cloak is no longer useful. We realize this in the room with the sorcerer, and we discard the cloak of invisibility. Alright, so now it's just us. We don't have the daemon anymore. That helped us out tremendously. We don't have the invisibility cloak. It is just Kargunt and Mistal with his Warhammer at 1 HP, with enough points to level up, but without enough rooms to level up. Pressing forward into the catacomb, hoping to come across a peddler or a way out. Hoping to come across some way to either escape or to acquire potions so that we can heal and not die. And I think with that, we should bring this episode, this session, to a close. And it has been a blast. If you've enjoyed watching, please hit that like and subscribe button to let me know that you want to see more solo role-playing content. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them in the description or in the comment section below. If you have ideas for future series for me once I finish Dark Fort, what you'd like to see next, if you'd like to see a Mörk Borg campaign or a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, whatever you personally would like to see, it would be cool to hear that in the comments. Yeah, this has been a blast, and in the next session we will walk through this door and see what lies on the other side. Who knows, Kargunt might even survive another session. Whatever the case, this has been a blast. Thank you so much once again for joining, and until next time, fight on.